9 years ago, Bethesda and ZeniMax Online Studios released The Elder Scrolls Online. For the whole of those 9 years, I have been hooked on this game, and although I have taken many a break from it, I always end up returning feeling more enthusiastic than ever before. This video is a personal one, in which I go through my thoughts, stories, and experiences with The Elder Scrolls Online. But I also want it to be an interactive one. I really want to get to know and hear from my viewers. What's your history with ESO? How long have you been playing for? How do you feel about it? Etc, etc. I want to hear. So please don't hesitate to fill the comments section up with tales of years gone by. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Casting my mind back, I remember seeing the first ever trailers for The Elder Scrolls Online. I remember how much trouble I would get into with my friends during school because we prioritised watching these trailers over doing any form of work. The excitement was real. Brilliant, another Elder Scrolls game. We were all so hyped for this new Elder Scrolls project. Not only is it an Elder Scrolls game, but it's multiplayer. All being such huge fans of Skyrim, I know that there were a good few of my friends who thought this was going to be Skyrim Online. The sad thing is though, The Elder Scrolls Online was never advertised as being Skyrim Online. Not once in any of the marketing did it state Skyrim, but online. It was very clearly marketed as an MMORPG and set in the Elder Scrolls worlds, but not linked in any way to the previous games due to the time in which it's set. So as time went on and more trailers were released, more excitement had been building and more tellings off from teachers had been received, it was time for the release. I remember the day in which I bought the game. Where, when, and how. Such a great memory, because at that moment in time, I had no clue that I would still be playing this game and singing its praises 9 years later. However, sadly, out of the 5 to 10 friends who were super excited for this game, soon realised it wasn't Skyrim Online. Who would have thought? And so when it came to finally playing with them, there were only 3 of us. However, one has stuck by me all this time, and we still play even now. I remember jumping on for the very first time, doing my research on the different alliances because I really needed to pick the right one that I believed in. Do I choose the Ebonheart Pact with the race choices of Nord, Dark Elf and Argonian? How about the Daggerfall Covenant with the Bretons, Redguards and Orcs? Or do I choose the Old Merry Dominion? Perhaps play as a High Elf, Wood Elf or Khajiit? Anyone watching this video right now who, like me, has played since launch will know why I spent so long making this choice. For the newer players, believe me when I say this choice mattered. Back in the day, your alliance choice meant that you could only play with others who were in your alliance. It meant you could only travel to areas within your alliance zones. You were restricted massively. It was only with the release of 1 Tamriel that we got freedom in regards to multiplayer and zone travelling. My first ever character was a Breton Dragon Knight, a part of the Daggerfall Covenant. Not knowing how to play, what the difference between a damage dealer, healer or tank was, and struggling to do pretty much anything because my character was a mess. Honestly, no disrespect to the beginners among us, but you guys have it easy now, trust me. My other friends were in the same situation. In fact, a really funny memory I have is us 3, all around level 20 to 25, ventured into the group dungeon found within Glenumbra, Spindleclutch. Which one, you ask? Spindleclutch 1 or Spindleclutch 2? Well, back then, that didn't exist. It was just Spindleclutch. Anyway, we couldn't get past the second boss, Swarm Mother, I believe it is. We spent days, if not weeks, trying to defeat this one boss. When we finally did it, we thought we had done the dungeon due to it being so difficult, final boss styled threat. Oh no, how wrong we were. We had only hit the halfway point. But this was such an experience, and getting that dungeon done for the very first time at the difficulty it was, seriously felt amazing. Now, I could solo it on veteran with my eyes closed. Anyway, as time went on, my characters changed massively. I spent a good long while as a Khajiit sorcerer using a two-handed greatsword. In fact, this was the first character I hit veteran on. And yes, you heard that correctly, veteran. Back in the day, champion level didn't exist. It was called veteran rank. But what about champion points? Again, no such thing. As you progressed from veteran level 1 to 2 to 3 and onward, you were given 1 skill point. That was it. Nothing else. After that, I was then introduced to none other than Deltia's Gaming, where I then made my very first proper build character. It was a Magicka Templar. It was Deltia's build, and I believe it was called the Omega Templar. He wasn't wrong with how powerful it was, because out of everyone I knew playing ESO, I was the only one who could solo veteran dungeons on this character. It was a beast of a build in its time, and it was the most fun I ever had on a character. So regardless if he ever hears this, thank you Deltia, because you took my ESO skills to the next level. He taught me everything about builds, and then I grew from there. I'll link his channel in the description below if you're interested. Other fond memories I have is finding my very first monster helmet. This was in veteran Wayrest Sewers, and again, no version 1 or 2, it was just veteran Wayrest Sewers. I remember my very first house when the housing update released. I remember completing my very first trial. I remember crafting my very first set and also creating a guild, which sadly isn't alive anymore, but in its time it was seriously fun. I also remember struggling with bar swapping, so for the longest time I only ever used one bar. The Elder Scrolls Online has changed so much over the past 9 years. In my opinion, it most certainly isn't the same game we all remember back then. It's that different, I would even go as far as saying unrecognisable. And yes, ESO has had its downs throughout the years, which I could go into detail about, but I'd rather not, as this is a wholesome, nostalgic video. In all these years, I have gained and met new friends due to ESO, lost friends due to ESO, raged and lost my mind due to ESO, but also fell in love with such an amazing game. The memories I have made and continue to make on ESO will never be forgotten. And now, I create ESO content for people to enjoy. And for all those reasons, I will be forever grateful to ZeniMax and all you guys, ESO's community. I seriously appreciate all the support so far, and I hope it continues. Again, I would love to hear all your stories, so please feel free to share. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you all in ESO someday.